I love poetry, and as soon as I admit this, suddenly I turn into an outcast. Hope this time it's different. But today I will talk about poetry. And I want to start with something slightly inconvenient because most people don't trust poetry, or they say they don't. What they usually mean is they don't know what to do with it. It feels either too abstract or too academic or too intentionally difficult. Like it's asking for a level of emotional or intellectual effort they didn't agree to when they opened the page. And I understand that because poetry has a reputation problem. Somewhere along the way, it became associated with analysis, with exams, with what does the poet mean, which is a shame because poetry was not originally designed to be an exam question. It was designed to do something else entirely, to compress experience. That's really the first thing to understand. A poem is not a smaller version of a novel. It is a different instrument. A novel expands time, a poem compresses it. A novel builds emotional context slowly. A poem delivers emotional clarity in a very small space. Sometimes in a few lines, sometimes in a single image. Which is why poetry fits so neatly into bibliotherapy. Because not every emotional state has the patience for a novel, especially modern emotional states. Most people are not sitting in quiet rooms with 3 hours of uninterrupted attention. They are tired, distracted, overwhelmed, or just full. And in that condition, asking someone to read 400 pages of anything is slightly unrealistic. Poetry doesn't ask that. It asks for a minute, maybe two, and then it leaves. But it never leaves empty-handed. There's a line by Mary Oliver that gets quoted often for a reason. She writes something like this: "Tell me what it is you plan to do with your one wild and precious life." It's simple, almost conversational, but it stays with you longer than most paragraphs ever do. That's what poetry does at its best. It doesn't try to explain your life to you, it gives you one precise angle on it, one emotional image that stays behind after the page is closed. I think people underestimate how powerful that is. In bibliotherapy, we sometimes think in terms of dosage. What kind of reading fits what kind of emotional state? And poetry is interesting because it fits almost all of them in small doses. If you're anxious, poetry doesn't demand long attention spans. If you're burnt out, it doesn't require sustained effort. If you're emotionally numb, it can still break through because it works through image and rhythm rather than argument. If you're overwhelmed, it doesn't add to the overwhelm. It reduces it down to something manageable. One image, one feeling, one idea you can actually hold in your head without it spilling everywhere. That matters more than it sounds like it should, because most emotional difficulty is not dramatic, it is cumulative. Small things piling up until thinking clearly becomes difficult. Poetry interrupts that pile, not by solving anything, by narrowing attention. There's also something else that makes poetry unusually useful in bibliotherapy. It doesn't insist on being fully understood. A poem doesn't collapse if you don't analyze it correctly. It doesn't punish you for not extracting meaning from it immediately. It can simply sit there, and you can sit with it. That's enough. I sometimes think of poetry as emotional calibration, not explanation. It adjusts something in how you are experiencing a moment, very quietly, very precisely, and then it stops. which is why I often recommend it to people who say they don't have time to read. Because that phrase is rarely about time, it's about capacity. And poetry works within small capacities. A few lines on phone screen while waiting for something, a page before sleep, a poem written down in a notebook and reread later when things feel too loud. There's no requirement to turn it into a system, no need to track it, no need to optimize it. You don't complete poetry, you encounter it. One of the most interesting things about poetry historically is that it has always been closer to oral tradition than people realize. It was meant to be heard, repeated, held in memory, which is why rhythm matters, why repetition matters, why line breaks matter. Poetry is not just meaning, it's just timing. And timing affects how something lands emotionally. A sentence can feel different depending on where it breaks, which is why poetry often bypasses the part of the brain that tries to over-explain everything. It goes directly to recognition, not analysis. The feeling of, yes, that is exactly it, I just didn't know how to say it. That moment is often enough. In bibliotherapy, we don't always need more information. We need better contact with what we already know, but haven't been able to articulate. Poetry does that efficiently, almost unfairly efficiently. 12 lines can sometimes do what a full book cannot. Not because books are works, but because they are doing something else. They are building worlds. Poetry is pointing at something inside a world you're already living in. So if you feel like you don't have time for reading right now, I would actually suggest starting smaller, not larger. Not with pressure, not with ambition. Just one poem. One. Read it slowly, then stop. See what remains. And that will be enough for today. I'll come back tomorrow. I hope you do too.